and in the winter we could keep him in the room with us. Perhaps it would be more profitable to have a sheep than a cow. Shall I exchange?" The man with the sheep was quite ready, and the bargain was quickly made. And then our peasant continued his way on the high road with his sheep. Soon after this, he overtook another man who had come into the road from a field and was carrying a large goose under his arm. "What a heavy creature you have there," said the peasant. "It has plenty of feathers and plenty of fat, and would look well tied to a string or paddling in the water at our place. That would be very useful to my old woman. She could make all sorts of profit out of it. How often she has said, 'If we only had a goose.' Now here is an opportunity, and if possible, I will get it for her. Shall we exchange? I will give you my sheep for your goose, and thanks into the bargain." The other had not the least objection, and accordingly the exchange was made, and our peasant became possessor of the goose. By this time he had arrived very near the town. The crowd on the high road had been gradually increasing, and there was quite a rush of men and cattle. The cattle walked on the path and by the palings, and at the turnpike gate they even walked into the toll-keeper's potato field, where one fowl was strutting about with a string tied to its leg, lest it should take fright at the crowd and run away and get lost. The tail feathers of this fowl were very short, and it winked with both its eyes, and looked very cunning as it said, "Cluck, cluck." What were the thoughts of the fowl as it said this, I cannot tell you, but as soon as our good man saw it, he thought, "Why, that's the finest fowl I ever saw in my life. It's finer than our parson's brood hen, upon my word. I should like to have that fowl. Fowls can always pick up a few grains that lie about, and almost keep themselves. I think it would be a good exchange if I could get it for my goose. Shall we exchange?" he asked the toll-keeper. "Exchange?" repeated the man. "Well, it would not be a bad thing." So they made an exchange. The toll-keeper at the turnpike gate kept the goose, and the peasant carried off the fowl. Now he really had done a great deal of business on his way to the fair, and he was hot and tired. He wanted something to eat and a glass of ale to refresh himself, so he turned his steps to an inn. He was just about to enter when the ostler came out, and they met at the door. The ostler was carrying a sack. "What have you got in that sack?" asked the peasant. "Rotten apples," answered the ostler. "A whole sackful of them. They will do to feed the pigs with." "Why, that will be terrible waste," the peasant replied. "I should like to take them home to my old woman. Last year the old apple tree by the grass plot bore only one apple, and we kept it in the cupboard till it was quite withered and rotten. It was property, my old woman said. Here she would see a great deal of property. A whole sackful. I should like to show them to her." "What will you give me for the sackful?" asked the ostler. "What will I give? Well, I will give you my fowl in exchange." So he gave up the fowl and received the apples, which he carried into the inn parlour. He leaned the sack carefully against the stove and then went to the table. But the stove was hot, and he had not thought of that. Many guests were present, horse dealers, cattle drovers, and 2 Englishmen. The Englishmen were so rich that their pockets bulged and seemed ready to burst, and they could bet too, as you shall hear. Hiss! Hiss! What could that be by the stove? The apples were beginning to roast. "What is that?" asked one. "Why, do you know?" said our peasant, and then he told them the whole story of the horse, which he had exchanged for a cow, and all the rest of it, down to the apples. "Well, your old woman will give it to you when you get home," said one of the Englishmen. "Won't there be a noise?" "What? Give me what?" said the peasant. "Why, she will kiss me and say, 'What the Goodman does is always right.'"